when a person like yourself gets labeled a right-wing, left-wing fanatic, like right out of the gate.
both in like a week and a half. And yeah, at least I know I'm doing something right. Like to me,
yeah, they're looking for your Biden campaign contributions now. They're going through your fucking taxes. The whole thing is so bonkers, man. Like, can't they just accept that you made a great song and people enjoy it?
Fast Zone News here, back with more breaking news, and today we're going to be checking out the brand new interview between Joe Rogan and Oliver Anthony. Joe had Oliver on his podcast a few days ago, and they had over a 3-hour conversation. They talked about a lot of different controversial topics, and ended up discussing the backlash he's received from his viral hit Richmond North of Richmond. He opened up about the media labeling him and explained why he doesn't fit into normal musical guidelines. I had a really good time making this video, and if you guys want to continue to see the latest Joe Rogan content, hit the subscribe button below.
If you had a song just about love that resonated like that, it would be almost impossible to hate you. But you have a song where you're talking about how people are fed up with shit, and it obviously resonated. I mean, I've seen songs go viral, but that's pretty bananas, son. your shit went to the moon right away. And God, I'm not sure who sent it to me. I'll have to find out who sent it to me. Because it's one of those things where, like, once one person sent it to me, then it was like dozens of people were sending it to me.
It seems like overnight it was just everywhere. It was on every social media post, everybody's story, every news outlet, like overnight. And that's the power of YouTube and the internet these days. It's crazy.
It's funny because originally that song wasn't really even in my top 5. Like, it's not normally the type of song. I've written songs with similar messages, but as far as that sort of, like, I guess anthem format is what people are calling it. It's like an anthem. Like, that's not something I would normally write, but
it's an unlikely anthem.
Yeah.
Insane times. It would be an unlikely anthem.
Yeah, I had no idea that song would react the way it did.
Well, you're a smart guy, and it's representative of how a lot of people feel. And it's also, there's something about the way certain people sing, and I don't know what it is because I can't sing. But there's a tone, there's an authentic sound, and I know when they're faking it.
I think, at least in my case, I think the one thing that's helped me too is that my singing isn't the best, but I've never had any like vocal lessons or anything. So the way
you can tell this guy just sings from the heart, and I think that's what resonated with so many people. It's like, no, it's not like Beyonce or these huge singers singing or Michael Jackson singing. But you can tell that it's coming from deep within, and it touched so many people, from people crying, and it just blew up because it resonated with everybody. There's a lot of people struggling these days in this economy and just the way everything is these days, and he's a perfect example of just speaking to those people that feel like they're not being heard.
The way I sing is just the way I sing, and so like I think even the same way with her and other people, it's like it's maybe rough around the edges, it could be a little pitchy, or it's, you know, you're not using the right part of your face when you project and whatever, and so like on paper things aren't quite right, but I guess to another human it's like it sounds right because it is what it is, you know.
It's authentic.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any right way to do anything. I mean, it's like you see it in everything. There's a person who violates the rules and they're the best at it.
and then the rules almost morph into whatever that is. Like it's funny, like with music. Yeah, music has, country in particular, but music in general has gotten way too wrapped up in like this algorithm of how many beats per minute it needs to have and how many verses and how they need to be layered. And it's like they've almost created this sort of like industry standard.
Every song sounds the same these days.
Like OSHA rule book of how music needs to be performed, and so like you can only do that so many thousands of times before people are like, okay, what else is there, you know?
Well, people like that too. That's the thing. There's a lot of damn people. There's a lot of people. The problem, I think, with a lot of people is they want you to like what they like. And if you don't like what they like, what you like sucks. It's funny like that, man. We're so tribal. We are tribal with our cell phones. You know, we're an Android or PC. You know, Android people
brands,
have to stick together. It's like we're so weird. Mm-hmm. We're so weird, but we're like that with our musical taste. We're like that with our cultural sensitivities or our cultural sensibilities, rather. like the way we feel about life and how life should be. We want everybody to kind of think along the ways that we think. It's very strange. And when a person like yourself gets labeled a right-wing, left-wing fanatic, like right out of the gate.
both in like a week and a half, then yeah, at least I know I'm doing something right. Like to me,
they're looking.
He's just pissing everybody off at first, and it's so sad because you can see when people are interviewing him, you can tell that they're just asking him questions to try to portray a narrative that they want him to stand for. Everybody's trying to claim this guy as their own. And if they're not with him, then it's like immediate hate stories. And this guy's just some regular guy up in the mountains that just got millions of views. He's like, and it's funny, if you watch the interviews, he sees what the people are doing too, and he doesn't feed into the narrative. He's a very smart guy, actually.
For your Biden campaign contributions now. They're going through your fucking taxes. The whole thing is so bonkers, man. Like, can't they just accept that you made a great song and people enjoy it?
Yeah.
Why does it why do people have to attack
Well,
it?
I think it's just for whatever reason I'm the subject matter the last couple weeks, and in everyone's defense, I probably haven't. I've waited for this opportunity, I guess, to really have a real conversation with somebody about whatever it is I am. So people are just trying to find who's this Oliver Anthony guy and what is he and where does he work and who did he vote for and what's his family like and yada, because they want to sort of build this image of whatever it is that the person behind the song represents, for better or for worse.
Right.
The people who agree with it want to, I don't know. It's really funny to watch on my end, because obviously I know what's true and what's not, and so like just even what I've skimmed through of people sending me like singing at the Super Bowl, like how many people have formed an opinion about whether or not I should be paid to sing at the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not singing at the Super Bowl. That's just somebody made up.
Dumb.
But there's been hundreds of hours of people's time wasted probably talking about all these little like things that don't even exist. It's just somebody made them up and put them on the internet, and so I'm just letting them ride. I think it's great.
It's wild.
I just think it's great, like that. At least the last couple of weeks, I've been able to entertain everyone and get everyone's mind off like all the other horrible stuff that's going on in the world right now. Like, at least everybody can have a good laugh, So,
See this guy, what a good guy this dude is. He just he doesn't care about the success. He's just happy that he was able to entertain people that have been in terrible times. I mean, the economy's terrible, and this guy just he spoke to them, and he touched me as well. Everybody's struggling. I don't care if it's financially, emotionally, and it's all an effect of, like he said, the rich men north of Richmond. They control everything. They just want everybody to be poor.
Well, I mean, it's a subject of discussion. So like everybody is getting involved, and then somehow or another it became cultural. And then there was Dwight from The Office.
Oh yeah,
He chimed in that if he was going to write a cultural anthem, what did he say? Something like he wouldn't write about overweight people on welfare. He would write about billionaires and their taxes.
Yeah,
there is nothing funnier
than
millionaires talking shit about billionaires. There's nothing funnier about millionaires pretending these billionaires are out of touch.
Oh yeah,
billionaires are paying too much for me.
Take Dwight from The Office down to West Virginia. Take him through those coal mining countries. Take him through those places in Appalachia where people have extreme poverty. And pills have ravished those areas. Take him to.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like people forget that there's these areas that are majority like white areas, and I mean everybody's struggling, and I feel like all too often the media tries to portray that it's just minority community struggling or this group of people struggling. Everybody has struggles in this world, and it's just unfortunate that the media doesn't recognize everybody, and people like Dwight I think forget that everybody's struggling. It's not just about billionaires paying more taxes. Like, come on, dude.
There.
And it's everywhere. Yeah, the sad thing is it's everywhere now. It's not, it's funny. People right off the get-go, I guess because it was Radio WV that posted the original video, but like I've never once advertised myself as being necessarily from the mountains. My grandfather grew up in western part of Virginia in the mountains, but I'm from Farmville, which is technically Piedmont. But even throughout rural Virginia, that poverty is a big issue and drugs are a big issue. And I mean, it's not just even in the rural areas. You go into downtown Richmond or any downtown anywhere for that matter. It's almost like yeah, these problems exist everywhere now that are, and I mean, obviously
Right,
they are, because
They
that's
exist
why the
everywhere.
song resonated the way it did. You know,
They exist
even
in
in
other countries,
in other
yeah.
countries, yeah.
Well, people are tired of being fucked with. And it seems like people in power are always fucking with people. And it's
Always.
just, I think it's a natural inclination that human beings have. And I think the founding fathers of this country recognized that when they set up our government. They set up our government to protect it against tyranny. And they did it by having all these different branches of government, and they're all coordinated, and there's a lot of stuff that keeps people from just running it the way they want to run it, like a king.
Well, and I mean, I'm certainly I'm no professional historian, but my understanding is that the federal government was never intended to be the size that it is today. Like, it's just,
It's way too big.
we're very top heavy in the way we're structured. You know, our federal government is enormous and out of control and almost impossible to manage. But then, like, on our community level and in our state government, things are, especially local government, things are just very neglected and weak and disconnected. And so, like, that's why you see a lot of the problems. Like, we shouldn't have to rely on the federal government to fix things out in the street in small town America.
Right, exactly right. I feel like all too often it's the federal government that's gigantic, and they're pointing at saying it's the state's responsibility to fix everything. And then you go to your local state, and the state's saying, we need the federal government to assist us. So it's to even get like a street paved, a sidewalk fixed, anything. We pay all this tax dollars. We can't even get a street paved. Meanwhile, the government's just growing, getting bigger, more money to them. And the streets, infrastructure is all just getting worse and worse and worse. That's what he's saying. These rich men in Richmond, north of Richmond, taking all the money and leaving everybody to rot. Terrible. Our country is in a bad place.
America, like, the communities and the local government should be the ones fixing that, and that's the way I see things. Like, even before our current form of government, I remember reading about, like, Articles of Confederation, and that was just an even smaller version of federal government, but it needed to have a little more structure than that. But even from day one, it seems like the federal government's never supposed to be the size that it's gotten to. Like, that's
a good argument if the country didn't get to the size that it got. The problem is you can't have like 30 people running 300 billion people.
But I think you could have more issues. So, like, I think it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible for states to be able to have the control to make the right decisions for the people in their areas when the federal government limits them in so many different ways.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to be talking out of my ass. But I would imagine
I am
probably
too.
low on funding, too. There's probably a lot of issues, especially in places that are poor, because they're...
I don't know how anybody could be low on funding after what happened with COVID. All these places literally have surpluses of cash just sitting. And meanwhile, they won't fix anything. The money's just sitting there for whenever they feel like using it. It's terrible. Nobody's underfunded, Joe.
rely on taxes from
Not currently.
those people.
Yeah.
It's all very complicated, but the idea of taxing the rich being the way to fix all this. No, you're just going to give more money to the government, and they're not really good at doing stuff. You know, I mean, would it be nice if rich people donated to fixing streets and schools and stuff like that? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be. Good call. Also, fat people shouldn't be buying fucking fudge rounds with food stamps.
Yeah.
Also, that's not good.
Yeah, and that's a funny.
But also,
that's a conversation that sort of got blown multiple ways. And really, I like to let a song be left up to the interpretation of the listener. But even with that, it's like, yeah, I would love to write a song about. Like, I always thought it was funny to, like, when GM got bailed out of the recession after they made all these terrible decisions. Like, I never understood why I've never understood corporate welfare either to much of an extent. So I do understand the people making that argument.
Well, you do. To bail out those big companies, you essentially are saving the jobs, and you're keeping this big American company alive. So it does help. It helps. The reason they bail out these big companies, and it doesn't make sense if you don't realize, if you're not thinking about the jobs that are there and the products that are being produced there, it doesn't make sense. Why are we giving this big billion-dollar corporation all this money? Well, it's to save the American jobs and to keep the company here in America. That's really why. And I mean, I support it in some cases when it's a large company like that. You really should save them. But I can see when you're struggling and seeing that and saying, man, I'm struggling and I'm paying my taxes too. Why are you giving all my money to these giant companies? I get it. I can see both sides, honestly.
The corporate welfare argument is you're going to lose a shitload of jobs. You can preserve those jobs,
Right.
give those people a loan,
Exactly.
they build back up, then they repay the loan. That's what they did, though.
Yeah.
So there's actually some benefit
Yeah.
to that.
So
Look,
yeah,
it
there's
keeps American jobs, and it also keeps one of the most iconic American car manufacturers in business. It's good for everybody,
yeah.
I think.
It's a good conversation to have. Like
It is like what gets bailed out and what doesn't, and
Yeah.
why. Yeah.
yeah, but ultimately, yeah, I do see a lot of people that aren't taken care of.
Yeah.
And so
You
it's,
know the most used business that didn't get taken care of during the crash? The
Who?
porn business. The porn business got
Fucking
wrecked.
Joe. Just going totally
They
off
got
the
wrecked
rails.
because they used to rely on DVD sales, and then internet
Yeah.
pirating came along, and they
What a transition, Joe. Jesus.
lost everything. And meanwhile, these politicians are probably whacking off every day to them.
Oh my God.
that's
and not
a
one-
big industry even today. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, hey, for whatever they lost during the recession, they made it back during COVID because that's my understanding. Everyone was doing that then. So
I don't know how that works. Like, who's getting paid? I don't know how that works. I'm sure there's a lot of money in that business. There's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of
Oh, for
eyeballs
sure.
in that business. I believe it's 1/3 of internet traffic worldwide or something bonkers like that.
yeah.
Isn't it something like that?
So that's going to wrap up this clip. This is where it just kind of goes off the rails. I'm going to be making a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 on this interview just because it was so good. And, you know, obviously everybody's talking about this. It's great for YouTube right now, too. So if you liked the video, please do me a favor and just hit the like button. It helps this video get out to more people. And if you could hit the subscribe button, it would mean a lot. I'd be greatly appreciated. And if you do subscribe, turn on the bell notification. Why not? That way you're notified whenever a new video comes out. And if you have any like comments or anything, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I always like to see the comments and hear from you guys. But yeah, that's going to wrap up the clip here. So that's going to wrap up the coverage of this clip. And as you guys can see, Oliver's his own man. He clearly doesn't conform to society's regular norms, and it was really refreshing to watch. But I want to know what you guys think. Are you a big fan of Oliver Anthony, or did you not like the song? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, I want to thank all my viewers and all my new subscribers. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the button below to gain access to the latest news and content 7 days a week. And this has been another edition of Fast Zone News. Peace out.
And waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to.